And good evening, everyone. Gray Wolf here. We're going to wait here and see if we get the notifications go out. In the meantime, I'm going to put out a notification on another platform here. And let a few people get in here. Hi, Giovanna. And there's Judy Van Dyke. So let a few people get in here. Taking a look over here at the Twitter, because I've been doing a lot of live streaming on Twitter. So that way people can join over there. And there we go. So we can see that. How we doing? Brenda Jackson, good evening. JM, good evening. Got a lot of folks coming in. Got a lot of folks coming in here. That's good. Truckin' Girl. Good evening. And Texas Girl. All right. So we were getting everybody in here. So trying to set up to be able to do some next gen stuff with the resources at hand. I just got a reply from Dr. Pierre Corey. I was texting him, so that's going to be part of my second discussion here. I'll write that down. He responded to. I love his comments. Let me say thanks, Doc. All right. So this has been, shall we say, one hell of a week. One hell of a week. Last week, I came up and I talked about HJ Res 7 and how HJ Res 7 had passed the Senate after a month of sitting in the committee. And it's still stuck, but it's stuck now in the House waiting to go to the president, which I refer to as the resident, for his signature. So that's the current state of affairs on that. So just a little bit of an update there so I can show y'all the current actions when you go down through here and look at them is still from the 3/30 date when the message on Senate action was sent to the House. And when we saw the signature of that was Representative Gozer and Paul Gozer and Kevin McCarthy sat down. He signed it, but now we're at the part where it needs to go to the resident for his signature. And we're stuck with everything else that's happening because literally not 24 hours, well, maybe 24 hours after my last stream, what did they do? They indicted President Trump. Sucked all the air out of the room, and put us on a path for this nation that we don't want to be on. So, getting some comments here. Let's see here. So, we got some folks that are talking about this right now as we speak. Ah, okay. Well, that's good. Welcome, Paul. So Paul is listening to the broadcast right now. Anyway, so we're stuck. We're stuck in this phase where it's made the House, it's passed in the House, it's passed in the Senate. It went back and got McCarthy's signature on it to go to the president to be signed. Now it has to make it to 1600 Pennsylvania. And of course, whatever the schedule for the resident is. So that's where that's the status on that. As you can see behind me, we're a nation in distress. And yes, that's what that's not a dishonorable thing that I'm doing with the American flag behind us here. A lot of people say, well, hey, you're dishonoring the flag. No, I'm not. This is a message that we're in distress. So, an upside down American flag is a message of distress, but then I made sure that I put up a distressed flag. So that's what's up behind me here. And I want to talk about what happened over this last week. And I must admit, on Tuesday, I was so peeved, I couldn't even speak. Never in my lifetime would I have thought for a single scintilla of a moment that we would be sitting where we are today, which is a banana republic, as the title says. I am live streaming across 2 YouTube channels, 2 Facebook channels, Twitter, CloutHub, and Rumble. So I think we've got about 4 actually, and maybe only 4 of those that are up and running at the moment. So I have to be careful what I say and how I say it for those that are watching on YouTube and Facebook for that nice little nasty strike that they do. That is all part of what we've been seeing happening. Banana republics censor their people. Dictators, authoritarians run the country. Why do we have a banana republic? Because in a banana republic, the party in power, in this case, the Democrats, but the party in power will do whatever is necessary to strike down opposition. They will use their police forces, their military, and their laws to silence their opposition. Case in point is Nelson Mandela, a political prisoner he was made. This is what a banana republic does. They silence their opposition. They stop them from taking power to where it is no longer a republic. And after all, what is the definition of a republic? It's a government run by the people. A government run by the people. So, I have a website that I've mentioned a few times that is patriotroster.com. You see it on the bottom of the screen down here in red. Patriotroster.com. I have the mission statement, has been updated. Thank you very much to the folks that helped with that. Joe, Nancy, Mama Wolf. But within the mission statement, I'll bring that page up. I have the definition of a republic. And B1 under the Merriam-Webster's page, a government in which supreme power resides in a body of citizens entitled to vote and is exercised by elected officers and representatives responsible to them and governing according to law. So in the United States of America, we are a constitutional republic, or we are supposed to be. But you have a Manhattan District Attorney, Alvin Bragg, who resurrected charges, counts, 34 counts, which when you download, we've downloaded and we've looked at these charges, this indictment, it is 34 cut and pastes that a first-year law student would be doing for charges that would be misdemeanors at best if they were true. And how do you get 34 of them? Well, I mean, I think I heard Dershowitz explain it best. If you were to take a salami and slice it up, it's still the salami that you're just simply slicing it into 34 pieces. Every single one of them are cut and paste, and in the indictment, no charges are explained. How are you making it a felony? Question marks. How are you making this a felony or 34 felonies? And then how is it that the judge didn't turn around, take this case folder, look at it, throw it back have the bailiff throw it back on Bragg's table and says, do you want to tell me where the beef is in this piece of paper, please? Because it's not in there. Unlike the old Apple, there's an app for that comment. There's no app for that. There's nothing there. He's trying to drum it up into a felony charge to say that there was fraud. Now what's interesting, and I want you to think about this for just a moment, this all was to occur back in 2017. But in 2016, Donald Trump turned over control of the Trump organization, to his sons. He wasn't even in charge of the Trump company so that he could take on the presidency. So again, what do you have? Then what do you have? A charge that has a 2-year statute of limitations. Wait a minute, 2017, this is 2023. Should we do the math on that? That's a sham. So, a district attorney that is funded by George Soros, indirectly, the old man's up there going, I never gave him money personally. No. But through Act Blue, he did. And through other companies, totaling $1 million. George Soros is public enemy number one and should be stripped of his U.S. citizenship since he's Hungarian, and he should be sent packing. Period. This evil, I'm not even going to call him a person because I don't want to give him that high of a ranking, goes on to talk about how he has made his money, his billions of dollars, by ruining countries, which is what he's doing with the United States of America right now, placing DAs. Currently, he has placed over 73 people in the United States in positions around the country as sheriffs, as DAs, as states attorneys generals. Look at Illinois, Kim Foxx. Look at Missouri. Remember the folks, I don't recall their names, but they stood out when the BLM was coming. They stood out on their property, on their front, with their weapons in hands. 2 lawyers that were then all of a sudden charged because they were protecting their property, their castle. So he has no allegiance to the United States. Here is a man at the age of 17 years old, went around with the Nazis when they went around and collected Jews and helped pillage their possessions, and said that he did it so that he would remain safe. I don't care why you did it. Taking people's possessions. That's where he learned it, at the age of 17. So now he's destroying America by placing these people, and they wind up selling their soul to him. He says jump, they ask how high. He says shit, and they say what color. That's what's wrong. That's what's wrong with this country. He owns so many in the lower sides that it is flat caused us to become the banana republic that we are from Tuesday on. So we are a nation in distress. So what do we do about it? In the United States of America, we have this little thing called voting. But guess who owns 51% of the vote companies, the vote hardware companies? Oh, that's right, George Soros. Who owns Maricopa County Board of Supervisors and Election Board? Who owns them? Who owns Dominion? ES&S. Who? Well, the same one who had a better than 51 percentile stock in Diebold. George Soros. Public enemy number one. Destroyer of countries. You're right. You're right. The love of money, the root of all evil. That's correct. So, what do we do about it? I'm still of the opinion that we can't do anything without the people. If I learned anything in my time on the Hill, in the meetings that I had, that came to light. But, as I've said, I don't think people are hurting enough. So what's it going to take? What is it going to take to get Americans off their backsides and to finally stand up and do what we see so many other countries doing? We need to go on a campaign to get rid of George Soros, and then we need to literally look at our Declaration of Independence. Our Declaration of Independence. Over on patriotroster.com, I have completely indexed our constitutional documents. This was no small or no simple feat. So within there, it's a completely indexed set of documents. So we can look at the Declaration of Independence, and we can go right to our second paragraph in there. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit, that word pursuit, of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right, and I would dare say the duty, of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety, happiness, and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. What does that mean, people? That means this document right here, our Declaration of Independence, paragraph 2, says that it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish any form of government that is destructive to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Well, my pursuit of happiness, my life, and my liberty are being destroyed. So ask yourself this question: how? How do we, the people, reference this and peacefully being the priority, eliminate any form of government that is destructive to life, liberty, or the pursuit of happiness? How do we do that? I have to say, I believe it to be only one way. And that is to come together as we the people, not in virtual sense, but literally in physical sense. come together and do just like we see in so many other countries that are far smaller than us, but they still bring hundreds of thousands of people to bear. They know it's wrong. We know it's wrong, and we sit back and we just say, I disagree with that. Maybe throw something at the TV. But we don't get off our ass and do a damn thing, do we? I tried, and I'm still trying. I tried to go. I did go, actually. Went all the way across the country in my truck as part of a convoy. We had several successes. We went to the Hill. We met with senators. We met with congressmen. We got their attention. And yes, the senators did in fact tell us what we needed to do. And yes, the senators were in fact writing legislation in the form of resolutions. They were just being blocked. So the fight became that we would try to get them unblocked and get them run through the circuit, i.e. HJRES 7, that I started at the top of this with. That would be the start. For every journey, you must have a starting point. And that has been my starting point. Because I believe that the state of emergency has been abused to the point to where it has enriched politicians, it has enriched hospitals, it has enriched big pharma, it has enriched people like Bill Gates, Anthony Fauci, and it has destroyed so much. They put mandates on us. At first, mask, distancing, then vaccine mandates, and then pushed companies into doing terminations if you didn't get the vaccine. And if you were an active military member and you didn't get the vaccine, then you were discharged, most of the time dishonorably, for breaching their contract. And I'm still looking forward to that fight, where active military that were discharged, now they say, well, they can reapply. Bullshit. You discharged them for breach of contract, which was unconstitutional, and by the way, against the contract, because you're not supposed to inoculate anyone in the military that's with a non-approved FDA, non-FDA approved drug. It's nothing about an emergency use authorization drug. They need to come back, they need to be given their rank, and they need to be given their retroactive pay. Over 60,000 of them. You just don't say, well, they can reapply. That's bullshit. And I say it just like that. So we've got to put the pressure on them. And we've got some patriots that are up there right now. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Matt Gaetz. We're keeping the Speaker of the House, McCarthy, in check. But it's a small group. So we need to bolster, and we bolster again by the people. So we need to be telling all of our friends, all of our neighbors, that that's what we need to do. So what's next? What are they going to be tossing at us next? Our favorite doctor of the country, Dr. Anthony Fauci, the biggest scam artist, liar, and mass murderer on the planet, in my opinion, is now sitting down with CNN's Jim Acosta, saying that there's going to be another pandemic. Maybe next year. So what is that pandemic that he knows so much about? Is it going to be another coronavirus? No. I've asked an expert in that, and that reply is monkeypox. And I would venture to say that there may even be a little touch of Ebola tossed in for good measure. So, no, he's not done. He needs to be dealt with. They all need to be dealt with. It's coming out what they've done. Ending the state of emergency, I said a year ago, they would be the start of repairing. Because you have this building, this high-rise building that they've been building. Multiple floors. I can't tell you how many stories that it is, but any building that you build has to have a foundation. And if the foundation is weak, then the building will crumble and fall. The foundation of that building, my friends, a state of emergency. Every floor is a representation of something like a mandate. Mask mandates, floor 1. Jab mandates, floor 2. We're going to go to the 3rd floor in Title 42 at the southern border. We're going to go to the 4th floor and we're going to say, we're going to give the WHO our American sovereignty for medical decisions. Let's go to the 5th floor and let's see how many billions of dollars we can funnel into Big Pharma. 6th floor, how many billions of dollars can we pay the hospitals to diagnose this pandemic? And then push the narratives. We're all going to die. The sky is falling. That is the abuses. Oh, let's go to the 7th floor. You don't have any constitutional rights because we're under a state of emergency. So as such, I can tell you to jump and you have to ask me how high. Piss off. That's how high I'll jump. Nope, not happening. So now monkeypox. That's where we're going. So we need to start preparing for that. They're going to try and lock us down again. Now, if you'd been on Grey Wolf Walk, you know that I had 3 objectives. 1, to end the state of emergency. 2, to either recall or rescind, I should say, the 1976 National Emergencies Act, or to change it with amendments, if possible, so that the abuses that we have been living under for the last 3 years with the state of emergency could never be done again. That's number 2. Number 3, hold all of those who took advantage and abused the state of emergency, hold them accountable for what they have done. Not just to the United States, but to the entire world. They've destroyed us. They're continuing to destroy us by the hour. We now have countries that will not do trade using the American dollar anymore. They use the Chinese yuan. This is a detriment to our US dollar, and will therefore be a detriment to our economy even further than it already is. Where does it end? A complete crash. Take the US dollar and flush it down the toilet because it will be useless. Well, I'll tell you what. Wad it up and use it for fire starters, because they're coming after you, telling you can't have heat in your home produced by wood-burning stoves in some states. You got to pay the power company. And oh, by the way, we're going to eliminate the natural gas so that you can use the more the more expensive electricity to keep warm. That's where this is going. So are you prepared? Are you prepared? Can you communicate when, not if, the internet and their cell phone services go down? How do you do that? Ask yourself this question now. When the internet and the cell phone services go down, how do you get a hold of anyone? How? These are the questions that I help answer at patriotroster.com. Ham radio is your number one answer. You may not be a ham, but in that particular instance, life-threatening situations, who's going to ask you for a license? But do you know how to operate? Do you know how to key that mic? Do you know how to cut an antenna? Do you know how to do any of that? I tell you how once you register on patriotroster.com. I don't charge you anything to register. I'm just trying to eliminate the 300 plus per day trolls that come through. So you may have some difficulty registering, but be patient with me, because I have to put bots in there that will stop the bots. It's a never-ending cycle. So we need to be prepared. We need to be looking at gardening. We need to be looking at water. We need to be looking at gasoline. We need to be looking at generators. We need to be looking at means to can our foods, because dehydration isn't going to cut it. You're not going to do that. Freeze drying is expensive. So you go back to the old way of doing things. You get yourself a pressure cooker, canner, mason jars. Cook your food while you can. Can it. Store it. You're going to need it. We're going to need it. I don't think they're going to stop at anything. We're going to be fighting for a while. Biofuel Mona says, and by the way, good evening, Mona. Biofuel is an interesting thing that I looked at about 10 years ago in creating my own biofuel. I used to own a shop, and I looked into the separation of oils. You start off with an oil, you get your methyl esters, you get your usable fuel, and you get your paraffins. It's a pretty simple process when you can use some ethanol, for instance, to separate the oils and to create your own biofuel, filter it. A lot of people will just filter out the big particulates and heat it up and and use it in a diesel running engine at that point. But that's acidic to the seals in a diesel running engine. I really got off on a digression. Sorry about that. But you need to be aware of how to do things simply. How do you get by if you've got no power? How do you get by if you hurt yourself and you can't get to the doctor? These are the questions you need to ask. What is the number one thing you use? The number one thing is water. Do you have enough? Is it clean enough? Have you sterilized it, sanitized it? Then you need to be able to communicate, know where to go. Who do you trust? Who do you trust that would get into a foxhole with you and cover your six? And know that they're not going to shoot you in the back while they're covering your six. Well, that's just a thing that we've been looking at. We all you got to do is look at Trump and how much Trump went through. A billionaire who gave up everything, working for free for you and me. And I've said it before. It's not necessarily about Trump himself. It's about what he does. The D-O part. And is it for my country? Is it for me? Any man or woman that came up and will do that, Carrie Lake, is in my book. So it doesn't have to be Trump. I'm not praising Trump. I'm just saying that he seems to be the only option. Let's look at that for just a moment. Here is a man that they, and I'll put that in kill brackets, right? I'll put they in a kill box, have been trying for 7 years to bring down. And now they bring up some bogus stuff that's absolutely not going to make it. A man that worked for nothing. Well, here's the thing. He paid for the majority of his campaign. You can't hear it because I got it buffered down, but my identifier just went off on my repeater. So he went into office, into politics, not being a politician. Nobody owed. He doesn't owe George Soros. He doesn't owe Koch brothers, Rothschilds, Rockefellers. They don't own him. That's why he must go. Because he is against the narrative. How dare we have somebody who doesn't want to make us the part of the new world order. This is why Trump, he can't be bought. He's a patriot. He has his faults. Nobody's going to argue that. But he will die fighting for this country. He could be sitting on a beach in Mar-a-Lago, soaking up the sun, drinking Mai Tais and pina coladas. But he's not doing that, is he? No, because he's fighting for you and me. And like Carrie Lake said, he's been attacked by the bullies since day one. People that he's given money to in the past turn on him like vultures. So let me talk a little bit about something else. There's a trend that we see happening. You know, back in the 90s, well, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, on up, we had these institutions where when people needed help, they were admitted. And then in the 90s, they were shut down in the Clinton administration. A lot of them were let go. They were schizophrenic. They're just totally out there, put on the streets. And we saw our homeless population rise. But that's okay. If you're in a Democrat-run city, we'll give you 3 squares a day. And go ahead and put fecal matter on the streets. No big deal. Just ask Nancy Pelosi. But there was another illness that was in those institutions. And now we see it. And it is being pushed upon us. And I don't know that there's a single person that I know that has an issue with a choice. If a man wants to be with a man, have at it. I don't care what you do. If a woman wants to be with a woman, have at it. Do what you do. Whatever you do in your home, behind closed doors, it's none of my damn business. I could care less. But you start grooming our children. You start the sickness of biological males dressing up with a ton of caked makeup, wigs, fancy dresses for story time. And it's called art. It's deviant. It's evil. It's a sickness in these people. And it is being pushed upon us. Day in and day out, hour by hour, to the point to where we are losing products. I speak to you, Nike. I speak to you, Bud Light. I am so sick of seeing Mulvaney's face, it's crazy. A biological male dressing up as a female, calling himself a girl, simply because he puts on makeup, does his hair, puts on the fingernail polish, and wears girls' clothes. Makes him a girl, right? No, wrong. It's in your head. And then you have influencers pushing it on everyone. It needs to end. Drag queens, go back to your damn bars. And people who want to see you that are of age can go to the bar. It's the way it was in the 70s, the 80s. Now you're bringing it to our children in libraries, on public parks. It must end. It is a sickness. It is a disorder that gay people that I know are denouncing this movement. It is a sickening thing to come after our children. I put a tweet out this morning that says, you know what? I started thinking about it. When I was a child, I got in trouble. My parents were big believers in corporal punishment. Yeah, that big leather strap. I saw it more than once. Saw it many times. And as the oldest of 5 boys, I was made example of, even if I didn't do it. because I would take the brunt of that corporal punishment from my younger brothers. They would see me hurting, and it was a Pavlov's dog type of a situation. I would go to school sometimes with welts in my shirt sticking to my back. True statement. Today, my parents would be in jail for that. But I respected that. And then I started thinking, I would prefer that over having a mentally ill parent, I should say, a woke parent that has talked me into, oh, you know what? You like pink, so you must be a girl, really. Let's go have your penis cut off. What they're doing to children now, with double mastectomies on these young girls, 12 years old, and young boys, castrating and removing their private parts, and saying, this is better for you. It's sick. It's sickening. We have denigrated humanity. This is not what God brought for us. This is not what God brings to us. It needs to stop. So we need to put the pressure on. Put the pressure on them. End it. Absolutely end it. Don't have these school boards allowing smut in the libraries and woke teachers telling students that come in that there are more than two genders, because you're supposed to base it on science, not theories, not fluidic theories. A man, a biological male, cannot get pregnant. And therefore is not a woman. But we all need to thank the heterosexual component of our families, because without them, we wouldn't be here. You want to kill off a generation or two? Put the transes together. And then ask them how they're going to procreate. It's going to be interesting, right? But like I said in the beginning of that, whatever you do behind your doors, I don't care. Just keep it out of my face and keep it out from in front of children. That's where I draw the line. Keep it out of the schools. Keep it out of the libraries. Keep it out of education in general. And I blame the parents as much as I blame the politicians that are allowing it. And when I say politicians, I speak to those that are in the school districts, that are in the locals, that are in the state legislators, that are sitting there acting so woke. I feel sorry for Budweiser, for instance. 30 years ago, they come up with these frogs. Budweiser. Spuds McKinsey. These great ads. We used to watch the Super Bowl more to watch what Budweiser was going to come out with next than what is happening now. So they hire a 28-year-old questionable individual to take care of their marketing, and look what they do. I doubt seriously that the execs at the top knew what was coming with that Bud Light and Dylan Mulvaney as a spokesperson. They're probably sitting back going, what just happened? I love Kid Rock's way of handling that, by the way. Just take a look at it on Twitter. You'll see what I'm talking about. So there are so many things that are just spinning around in my brain with everything that's going on. I know you all are feeling the same way. It's like, what the hell did we put our finger on? For the last year, I've made sure that I kept focused on that state of emergency. I didn't want to get off the focus of the state of emergency. And lots of people tried to get me to swing to another piece of something and would say, no, I'm focused on the state of emergency because I believe that to be the foundation that will crumble the building. We take away the state of emergency, the foundation's gone, and everything above that will now fall. So I'm still struggling with what it is that we need to do next. But I can tell you that it's going to have to be simultaneous actions on many fronts. Many fronts. We've got to get in front of these school boards. We've got to get, we have to, the election integrity is another issue. Everyone, it's easy to say, well, if you don't like something, and this is the line of the Democrats these days, run for office. Well, if I could trust that my vote would actually, that my name would be voted upon fairly, I would. Hell, I'd be on District 27 Assembly right now. It wouldn't be difficult for me to go and knock at every door in District 27. It really wouldn't. It wouldn't cost all that much either. But I can't count with George Soros's finger in the pie. I can't count on the fact that I would have a fair and free election. Otherwise, I'd say, hey, everybody start running for something. Fight. Don't give up. In times like this, that's easy for us to do. It's easy for us to say, I've had enough. I'm just going to lay back and let it, and just make it quick. I mean, it's easy for us to say that. But you see that? We fight for that. When I served, I raised my hand. I took an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That oath did not have an expiration date. And it's just like I told the senators when we met. I may not be serving active duty today, but I am serving today. I don't have much left around me that I can bring to the table. But I have a lot here. And that's what I bring to the table. I have neglected the things that did not matter as much as my country, which is a lot, to get out and fight, to spend months walking. There's a lot of sacrifices we're all going to have to face. But it's going to have to be done. So, I haven't done this in a while. I'm going to play a song before we go. I'll cut this for the night. And I really want you to listen to it. I really want you to hear the words. Because it is time that we do this. Go to patriotroster.com and join the roster. Be patient because, like I said, I am whacking trolls there to the tune of about 400 or 500 a day. So you could get mixed up in the mix, and just be patient. We'll get, send us the emails saying, I'm having an issue, give me your username, and I can go in and manually activate you if I have to. But don't give up. Let's grow the roster. Let's disseminate information. Now on patriotroster.com, let me show you this real quick, and then we'll get to it. On patriotroster.com, I'll give you a quick tour. This is the home page. Okay? Pretty much describes America as we see it. The mission statement. Now, if you're on the phone or an iPad, you got that little hamburger and you drop it down and you go to these pages. The mission statement: to protect our U.S. sovereignty, restore our God-given freedoms and liberties, and defend our Constitution through education, demonstration, and peaceful assembly. And a bit of a video here from me. Some definitions. The blog. Now in the blog, these are blogs where I've written on current events or things that just my opinions, as I say. Okay? This is my last blog. But this is where it really starts to get different. There are 6 forums out here. Well, what's a forum? Now, to the younger folks, before there was chat, before there was text, before there was Discord, Telegram, any of that, we used forums to communicate on the websites. There are 6 forums out here where you can post up a topic of discussion and engage with other registered members. Then there's You Ready? You don't see this drop down if you're not registered. But You Ready is kind of an introduction as to, are you ready? Kind of a Q&A. You're going to use tin cans and string to try and communicate? Or are you going to use something else? And what is that something else? Let's talk about apps and programs. You can go in there. We're going to be listing apps and programs that will protect your privacy. How-tos. Remember earlier I said ham radio. You're not a ham radio operator. I don't know how to do anything with a ham radio. What do I know about that? When the shit hits the fan, okay, and you can get a roll of wire, 12 gauge stranded wire, the same stuff you see, the green wire, for instance, or the black wire that's used to run electricity in your household. You can make an antenna out of that. And this article, which is a page long, it's not long, but it discusses the formulas. It's pretty short formulas, really. It's right here. Antenna length is equal to the speed of light divided by the frequency divided by 4, then multiplied by 39.37, which converts to inches for you. And then times 12 if you want to turn it into feet. So I explain in this article how you make antennas when using trees or poles or something like that. And now you can be part of the communications because ham radio will go around the world. Watch the flea markets. Pick up a cheap HF radio. I explain the differences as well. In You Ready, how-tos, radios, boom, right there. What's the difference between line of sight radios? VHF, UHF. Oh my God, it's just too much, Grey Wolf. Little walkie-talkies. Little walkie-talkie that, can go to a repeater that covers this entire valley. Okay? HF, high frequency radios, that can go by themselves without connecting to some other kind of device around the globe. But you got to have the antenna. Okay? And anyone can do it. Anyone. Here's your young boy. Notice what his left hand is on? It's a Morse code keyer. Impressive. Okay? So, then the constitutional documents. Oh. Satellite systems. Now, my satellite phone is this. Okay? Now, the satellite phone that I use is an Imnersat. Prepaid. So, I'm not going to use this to call. I use it to text. But when the internet's down, these are on an independent system. Okay? Independent system that I can communicate with other people that are on the Imnersat system. If I go outside of the Indictment system and I try a voice call, or you try and call me from another satellite provider, then it's extremely expensive. But I'm on Indictment, okay? So what is the Indictment? I speak to what is Iridium? What about that technology? Indictment, Globestar, and through don't forget those. They're just kind of out of there. But they're there. Then the constitutional documents. Now, I spent a lot of time indexing all of that. Declaration of Independence, Articles of Confederation, in the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, amendments. And they're all indexed. So if you said, well, I want to go look at the Second Amendment, okay? Well, let's go look at Amendment 2, and there it is. A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, comma. This is that whole Merrick Garland thing. The right of the people to keep and bear arms, 4 words, shall not be infringed. And oh, by the way, you will not find those words anywhere else in the Constitution, or that word, infringed, anywhere else in the Constitution. Nowhere else in the Constitution will you find the word infringed but the Second Amendment. They're pretty serious about it. When you click that back to the top button, it takes you right back. That's the indexed part of the Constitution. This is patriotroster.com. Hope to see you all there. So, in closing, we're in deep shit. I don't know that the thread that's holding this all together right now can hold much longer. I think it's pretty well worn. Like the flag behind me. There's not a lot holding us together right now. We have a lot of patriots in this country. We just can't seem to collate and come together. We should try. I tried to bring patriots together with the walk. Was not able to get people to come out in mass. I'm not speaking a couple of dozen. I'm not even speaking a couple of thousand. I'm speaking by the millions of us. In every state house, across the country, we have enough individuals in this country that we could span from one end to the other with people. Then we get their attention. I hate to see what the alternatives are going to be. So, my friends, enjoy this. And until next time, I love all of you. God bless you. And God bless the United States.
There's a cry of freedom sweeping around the world today. And here we have it all, life and liberty. Still we give the dream away. No more can we afford to stand around, set inside our ways. Wake up in the USA. Wake up in the USA. Help others when you can. Respect your fellow man. Can't you see the times are changing? When priorities are wrong, we've got to stand up strong and rearrange them. It's time that we wake up and see our freedom was never free. So wake up in the USA. You know what you need to do. Don't give up, you gotta push on through. Quit closing your eyes, pretending that you don't see. And if you think you'll just spectate, it's too late. We all live here together, from sea to shining sea. Now there's a cry of freedom sweeping around the USA. No one can take the sunlight or the breeze. No one can turn our blue skies gray. Now everybody join together with me as I pray. Wake up in the USA. Wake up in the USA.